Alright, Chagiga Daf. So today's daf, we are finishing up elaborating on the milas that we covered in the Mishnah Daf Chav, which are the 11 things, 11 stringencies that we treat Kodesh foods that we don't necessarily treat Truma. And then we're going to also start a Mishnah, which we're going to elaborate on tomorrow, talking about some of the chumras that Truma has that we don't treat with Kodesh of the same status. So the first mila we talk about is number 8, which is the idea of Revi Latuma, not Shlishi Latuma, meaning if you have a 3rd degree Tame item that touches a Revi Latuma, that touches a Kodesh, it makes it unfit to eat. But if it touches Truma, it is still fit to be eaten. So what's the source for this? We learned that it's a Kavachomer from the Chusar Kapara. Chusar Kapara is someone who has to, who is required to dip in the mikveh and bring a carbon for something that he did. And so far, he dipped in the mikveh. He waited till Erev Shemesh, till sunset, but he didn't bring the carbon. So he's like in this quasi state where he's kind of tahor and like forgiven, but not really. So certain things he's still not allowed to do. For example, he's not allowed to eat truma. So if we say if I'm a chuzak kapara, cannot even eat truma, then but he can eat kodesh. So kal v'chomer, a shlishi l'tama who can eat truma, we say certainly should not be allowed to eat kodesh. And that's the kal v'chomer here. Then we have mila number 9, which says that if one hand is tuma but the other hand is holy, I'm allowed to touch truma items, but I can't touch tahara items until I dip in the mikveh. So what's basically want to just qualify that in a little bit. First, we have an idea by Rav Shizbi, who says that this only applies when your hands are connected. That's when you can't eat kodesh, but if they're separate, then that's fine. We end up rejecting that statement. And then we have Rabbi Yochanan and ultimately Rish Lakish, who end up saying the same thing, that it doesn't just mean if I have one hand that's holy and one that's pure and one hand that's not pure, then this hand could make kodesh, could disqualify kodesh, but also someone else's hand. If my hand touches someone else's hand who's holding kodesh, then that it also applies. The Gemara also talks about, does it mean that it makes the kodesh food pasul, or does it make it tameh? Meaning, could that food then make something else tameh, or is it just pasul, meaning I can't eat it? That's what the Gemara outlines there. The next mila we talk about is eating dry foods with wet hands. So the Gemara says this is referring to a case, like it's a little bit tricky what actual case is referring to. We say it refers to a case where I had kodesh in, like, I ate kodesh with a toothpick, or put it in or someone else put it in my mouth, meaning I didn't actually touch it, and now I also want to eat, like my hands are tameh, but I have kodesh in my mouth because it was fed to me, or I ate it through a toothpick, but now I also have an onion in my hand that's truma, which is allowed, and I want to eat it. So now the question is the mixture of foods in my mouth going to make the kodesh pasul? That's the case that we're saying here, where you are not allowed to do that. And when I said truma, I meant chulin. So sort of an edge case a little bit. Mila number 11 is in onein mechuzar kapara. We said that if you're an onein, which means someone just passed away in your family, or if you're a mechuzar kapara, like I mentioned earlier, then you're not allowed to eat kachim until you dip. Why is that the case? Because in your current state, you can't eat kachim, so now you have to do tevila in order to sort of allow yourself the ability to do so. And those are the 4 milas that we covered in today's daf. The Mishnah ends by talking about, or the end of the daf is the following Mishnah, which covers the chumras that we have to treat truma that we don't necessarily treat kachim. And these are things like believing Amei Aretz and how we actually treat the truma. And we'll cover that more on tomorrow's daf. Have a great day.